classified gear sets were the height of endgame gear in Tom Clancy's The Division 1, in both PvE and PvP, but we never got the chance to see what would happen if classified gear sets made their way into The Division 2. Hey folks, I'm Abrax and welcome back to another video. In this video I want to ask the question, would classified gear sets have worked in The Division 2, and what shape would they have taken? Let's jump into it. First, if you're new to the channel, hello. If not, welcome back. If you enjoyed this video or find it helpful, giving it a like goes a long way, and consider subscribing and ringing the little bell. It's free and it means you won't miss any future uploads. Also, as a quick disclaimer, just in case there's any misunderstanding, as far as I know, classified gear sets are not coming to The Division 2. This is simply a topic I thought would make for a pretty interesting discussion, and with that, let's get into the video. In The Division 1, classified gear sets were loved by some and hated by others, and it's also a type of gear we never saw make the jump to the second game. In this video I want to talk about whether classified gear sets would have worked in The Division 2. Now, I know a lot of people have clicked on this video purely to take to the comment section, and I'm pretty sure a few people will have already typed no before I finish this sentence, but bear with me, I think I have a few interesting thoughts on classified gear. In case you didn't know, or you've only played the second game, classified gear was a rarer form of the normal gear set in Tom Clancy's The Division 1 that added an extra 2 stages of gear set bonuses. Like the gear sets in The Division 2, The Division 1 also had your standard gear sets with up to 4 gear set bonuses, with each piece unlocking the next bonus up until the 4th, which was usually a gameplay changing talent. But classified gear sets from The Division 1 also had a 5th and 6th bonus, with the 6th being an even stronger talent or buffed version of the 4th. And this was a system we never saw added to the second game, The Division 2, and I think I know why. The Division franchise, being a looter shooter, combines mechanics from both shooting games and your more traditional RPGs, which means when it comes to build composition, most builds tend to revolve around the holy trinity of roles: the damage dealer or DPS, the tank, or the healer. I know there are other roles or subclasses, but for now I'm going to stick to these 3 just to keep it simple. Each of these archetypes brings a different playstyle and benefits, and each of the standard gear sets in The Division 1 very much leaned into one of these archetypes. To use a few Division 1 gear sets as examples, the original Striker gear set was undoubtedly a solid DPS gear set, with each shot landed increasing the user's damage by building stacks, and missing shots lowered that bonus damage by removing the stacks. The D3, FNC or Defense gear set increased the durability of the shield, allowing you to take a lot more damage, and also allowed you to use an SMG with the shield, functioning as a tank in a group. And the Reclaimer, a gear set that so many players of the first game miss, which gave the support station a huge amount of buffs. If you've only played The Division 2, think of the support station as a significantly better repair hive, but the Reclaimer was a pure healer build. Every gear set in The Division 1 could closely fall into one of these roles, making them strong on their own but stronger in a group, especially using a more traditional MMO style team composition like 2 DPS, a tank and a healer, or more commonly in The Division 1, 3 DPS and 1 healer, with the aggro mechanic not being the most reliable thing in the first game, taking away the tank's main job of pulling aggro. Now, the problem with the classified gear sets is that some of them started to blur the lines between roles. This created builds that could do a huge amount of damage, self-heal, and as a byproduct of the healing, tank some of the incoming damage. Now, in my opinion, this did create some very powerful and fun builds to play, but at the same time, it was a nail in the coffin of build diversity for Tom Clancy's The Division 1. With the introduction of some of the classified gear sets, not all of them, but mainly the overpowered outliers, the meta took a massive shift, with most players only using specific classified gear sets with talents and requirements that contradicted each other, often needing you to stack durability in order to increase your damage. For example, look at the Predator's Mark classified gear set. If you aren't familiar with the Predator's Mark gear set, it was a DPS gear set in The Division 1 with a focus on dot damage, or damage over time. The way it would work is that you would hit your target 10 times and this would apply a bleed, which worked great. However, the classified version of this gear set The more toughness you stacked, which was the Division 1's version of armor, the more damage the bleed would do per tick. So that means in order to do more damage, you had to make the build tankier, which didn't really make sense. Same story with the classified Striker gear set. The Striker gear set increased your damage the more shots you land, which worked great as a skill-based DPS build, meaning you needed to be accurate to make the most of the build. But the problem with the classified version was it also added a constant heal along with the stacks. So you'd have a damage build that can do 100% extra damage in the right hands with a strong constant self heal that got stronger the more toughness you stacked. And this also helped tank incoming damage, because the incoming damage would then be mitigated by part of the healing tick. And there are more examples like this that I'm sure a lot of you already know about, and in their current state, I really don't think classified gear sets would have actually worked in the Division 2. But I do have to confess, Classified Striker was pretty fun. Although some worked really well in the first game, there were sets that combined multiple roles to create metas that stood head and shoulders above other builds, damaging build diversity and creativity. However, I do think there could be a way that classified gear sets might work in the Division 2. Something I have always wondered is what if, instead of classified gear sets combining multiple roles, they just leaned more into their intended role. So let's think about this from a Division 2 perspective. If we have the Striker gear set, which works in the same way as it did in the first game, with the exception of each stack being a fraction of a percentage instead of 1% like the first game, what if for a classified version of Striker in the Division 2, stacking red cores increased the value of one stack, so the less survivability you have, the more damage you do. We could even take this even further. What if the 6-piece bonus actually lowered your survivability by giving you a minus percentage to your armor as it increased the damage, like a more extreme version of Glass Cannon, making it a very difficult build to use solo, but very powerful with the right group composition? Or what if we look at Foundry Bulwark and gave the classified version a 6-piece talent that reduced your outgoing damage, but gave you a massive defensive boost, and say increase the damage of everyone else in your team? This would have kept build creativity and diversity alive for solo players, and at the same time giving groups more interesting options for group composition for harder endgame content, like legendaries or raids. And it would also stop a classified gear set becoming the only build everyone used. This would have kept creativity and build diversity alive for solo players, and given groups more options for interesting group compositions for harder endgame content, like legendaries or raids. And I'm sure there are more creative examples of a 6-piece bonus, but this is just an idea I've kind of had floating around in my head for an interesting evolution of classified gear. At this point in the game's life, I don't think we'll see anything like classified gear added, but I thought this would be an interesting topic. It's something I think about quite a lot. And if we do get a Division 3 somewhere down the line, it would be interesting to see classified gear make a return, but with a more interesting rework. If you enjoyed this more discussion style video and you'd like to see more, please let me know in the comments below. So what do you think? Would you have liked to see classified gear in the Division 2 in one form or another? Or if we do get a Division 3 in the future, would you like to see it return? Let's talk about it. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell. It's completely free and it means you won't miss any future uploads. Thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next one.